Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I'm doing the 1001 book tag. This tag was originally created by the lovely Sandy at Miss Reads a Lot, and I was tagged forever and ever ago by Gloria Z. Thompson, and I'm really behind on tags. Like really behind. So I am excited to finally do this tag, and hopefully I will catch up on some of my other tags soon. We'll see. Question number 1 is 1001 lists. Do you follow any book lists? So I know that Sandy has like the 1001 books you should read before you die, and she is like working her way through that list, which is like amazing. She has gotten so many of them read. Like last year, I can't remember how many she ended up reading, but she is doing like amazing, and it's so fun to watch her journey through that list. I do not have a list that I'm like, yes, I have to read all of these. But the one like challenge that I have like taken quizzes to see how many of these books that I've read, and I do check off from kind of, I was gonna say regularly, but not that regularly, but I check in like every once in a while on, is the Rory Gilmore reading challenge. So if you haven't watched the show Gilmore Girls, it's about a single mom raising her daughter who she had when she was really young. And her daughter Rory is like really smart, loves books, is very like academically minded. And so she reads a lot of books and has read a lot of books that maybe a lot of other teenagers wouldn't have read, but she's like super brainy. So it keeps track of like all the books that have been mentioned on the show, and then you check off to see how many of them you've read. I should do a video about like how many I've actually read, because it's been a while since I've checked in on that. But a lot of them are like classic literature, so there's a good chunk of them that I have read. But that's one that I have like referred back to sometimes when I'm looking for ideas of new books to read or whatever. So that's really the only one that I can think of that I've really looked at with any amount of frequency at all. So the next question is 1001 books, approximately how many physical books do you own and how many ebooks? So I own a lot of physical books. I've really built up my home library over the past couple of years, and the pandemic really helped with that, not having a public library that I could go to for quite some time. But I'm pretty sure that I own over 2,000 books. It's been a while since I calculated them. I have an app called Libib. I've mentioned it on here before, but it's been a while since I've mentioned it. So you can scan the barcode on the back of your books. You can categorize them into different shelves. So I have like a middle grade section. I have like my books. I have picture books. I have homeschooling books. I have all of those listed in there. The only section that I don't really have anything on is my husband's books, and he has quite a few books because he's a pastor, so he has a pretty large like library in his office at church, and none of those are in there at all. But I really like that app because it does kind of help me keep track. So when I'm going to a thrift store, I can scan the book in the thrift store and just see like, do I already have this book? And it has mostly prevented me from purchasing duplicates. There's been a couple times when I have still, because I just haven't checked or whatever, but overall I have not purchased very many duplicates thanks to that app, and that actually helps me keep kind of a running tally. But it's been a little while since I've updated it with some of my recent book hauls, and I need to go and like remove some because of my recent unhauls. But I am very confident in saying that between my daughter and I's bookshelves, we own over 2,000 books. In terms of ebooks, I don't really use my Kindle all that often. It's just not my favorite way to read. So most of the time when I use my Kindle, it's actually for library books and not ones that I own. I'm pretty sure that I probably have anywhere from like 20 to 50 books on there that were free that I got when I first got my Kindle, like classic books and whatever. But overall, it's just not my favorite way to read. So my daughter has basically shanghaied my Kindle and uses it to get ebooks that we can't get from our library. Next question is 1001 books read. Approximately how many books have you read in your lifetime, and do you keep track? I could not even begin to tell you how many books I have read in my lifetime. I really don't know. I know on Goodreads it's well over 1,000 books, but I know that there are so many books that I have read that are not on Goodreads. I've only started using Goodreads like at the end of 2019 was when I started regularly using Goodreads. And so there's so many books that I have read that I have not tracked on Goodreads. I was a voracious reader as a child, so I have always been reading lots and lots of books. So I really could not tell you how many, because I used to go through so many books. Like I know that I read every single one of the Babysitter's Club growing up, and like that's over 150 books right there. I know that I read every single Nancy Drew book, and then like all the spin-off books when I was a kid, and like I haven't put any of those on Goodreads. So I have no idea, but I am keeping track now, and I really like tracking my reading on Goodreads. Question number 4 is 1001 Arabian Nights. Have you read any stories from the Arabian Nights? Do you have a favorite? If you haven't read it, do you want to? So I actually have a really lovely copy of Arabian Nights. I should grab it really quick. So I have this super pretty edition that I got from Book Outlet. It's the Paper Mill Press edition. So I just think that this is so pretty. I have not read all of them, but I have read a couple of them. As I'm looking through these table of contents, I really have not read very many of them. I've read Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp. I think I've read The Adventures of Harun al-Rashid, and I feel like the story of the vizier who is punished sounds familiar, so maybe I've read that one as well. I would like to read the whole thing at one point because I love fairy tales, so we'll see, but it's probably gonna be a little while till I get to it. The next question is 1001 flavors. Do you have a favorite food or flavor? If I'm going with a genre of food, I would say Indian food. I love curry so much. So anything that has like Indian curry powder or paste in it is like an all-time favorite flavor for me, but I can't just say like this is my one dish that I love or my one food that I love, because that's really hard to narrow it down. In general, I just prefer ethnic foods to American foods. Like I love Mexican food and I love all Asian food. Like we've been experimenting a lot with Korean food lately, and that has been really fun and really delicious, but so far nothing tops Indian food for me. The next question is 1001 pages. Have you read a book that is over 1,000 pages? Is there one you recommend and is worth the time? And what is the longest book you have read? I have several really long books that I have read pretty recently that are over 1,000 pages. So last summer I read Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, and then I just finished War and Peace too. So I have read a couple within the last like 6 months or so that are just like absolute chunkers. Both of those are over 1,300 pages. They are about the same size, actually, at least the editions, translations, whatever that I have are about the same size. I've also read The Count of Monte Cristo, which is about 1,200 pages. So I've read some big books in my time. All 3 books are excellent and worth your time, although they are work to get through at certain times. They do slog at certain times, but I loved them all. I'm kind of a big book fan though, so. The next question is 1001 buckets. Do you have a non-bookish bucket list? What is one thing on the list? So I kind of do, and I say kind of because there's almost nothing on it. In fact, there's only one thing on it, and that thing is to ride in a hot air balloon. So there's one thing from my bucket list, which is only one thing. It feels like it's an achievable thing, something that I can do, because I could say, I want to travel the world, but I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to do that. I guess bucket list in terms of travels, I would want to go to Italy. That's like my one country. If I could go anywhere in the world, it would be Italy. But it's going to be a long time before I can do that, and I may never be able to do that, and that's okay. So the one thing that I really do want to do is ride in a hot air balloon. The next question is 1001 numbers. Do you have a lucky number, and is there a story behind it? So I have like a favorite number. I don't know if it's really lucky, but it's the number 7, and I don't know why. I don't know why. just as a kid, I just decided 7's my favorite number, and so I just kind of like kept it, and I don't know why I started liking it. I wouldn't like, I don't put stock in that number in any sense of the word. I don't like do anything with the number 7, but I guess it's still my favorite number because I've never thought about it since. So it's not like I've never picked another number, I guess. The next question is 1001 authors. Do you have a favorite author and or genre? So to choose a favorite author feels kind of impossible because I have a lot. Dostoevsky is up there. Tolkien is up there. C.S. Lewis, Ella Montgomery, Charles Dickens. There's a lot. So I would say overall my favorite genre is classics, but if we're gonna narrow that down into subgenres, my 2 favorite subgenres would be Victorian classics and Russian classics. And I can't say that one of those 2 is for sure my favorite because they're kind of neck and neck. But Russian classics has been a more recent favorite. I've been a fan of Victorian literature since I was like 10. I think that was when I read my first Dickens and my first George Eliot. So I've been a fan of Victorian literature almost as long as I can remember. But Russian literature has just been in the past probably like 3 or 4 years since I picked up Crime and Punishment on a whim. And ever since then, I have just fallen in love with Russian literature. And the last question is 1001 activities. Do you have a favorite outdoor activity? Well, maybe I do like being outside. I like to read outside, but that doesn't really seem like an outdoor activity. I am starting to kind of get into gardening a little bit. I want to start a vegetable garden this year, but I feel like my favorite outdoor activity, like consistently, is hiking. I really like to hike, and I am not like a big hiker in terms of like these really tough trails. I have never been backpacking. I have never like camped on a trail before. I've actually never camped at all. And I do want to change that this year. But overall, like I really like hiking a lot. It's very enjoyable. We like to go on family hikes. We're just now getting to the point where we're kind of hiking in our area because we've lived in this area for less than a year, and when the weather was good last year we were just kind of settling in, and so now we're kind of like finally getting in the groove of everything to be able to kind of like go out exploring, and the weather's getting nicer and everything. So I hope to do a lot more hiking in the future. Hiking is also kind of a newer thing for me, like Russian literature. It actually really started when the pandemic started and everything was closed down because I just get stir crazy and feel like I needed to get out of the house, and so we just found all kinds of hiking locations that we could go check out, and would go hiking multiple times a week, and since then we have just really enjoyed it, and I really want to get back into the habit of hiking multiple times a week because it's just wonderful. I just love being outside in the sunshine. Well, that is it for this tag. Thank you so much to Sandy for creating like a really unique and fun tag, because I feel like this incorporates a lot of bookish questions and then some not so bookish questions, and most of them are things that like I don't think I've answered in Q&As and other videos and stuff, so this was really fun. If you have not done this tag before, I would love for you to, so consider yourself tagged if you haven't done this one yet. And if you have done it, please leave a link for your video down below so that way I can go check out your answers as well. And if you don't have a booktube channel, feel free to answer as many or as few of these as you would like in the comments down below, because I love chatting with you guys and learning more about you guys too. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.